All right, Evan. So I'm just going to do a little tutorial here on how I work extensions and maybe to a lesser degree some retracements. So just looking at the chart of Amarin here, and I'm just going back to this structure that was a nice Elliott, 5-wave impulse wave. So we had wave 1 up, 2 down, and basically swing high to swing low. And keep in mind, before you had that big move up, this is all you're looking at here. You had a move up, and then you had this choppy move down, and then you started moving up again. So we didn't know this big move was coming yet. So under that lens, you'd say, okay, we had this big correction down, maybe a big ABC down. Now this is possibly the beginning of a new wave up, new impulse wave up. So we're looking for a 1-2. All right, so within the lens of that, we're going to go here from that pivot down to here. And if we get a wave 3, some common relationships between 1 and 3 off of that 2 extreme there, 1.618 and 2.0. Well, we actually exceeded that. So that was a very strong wave 3. And actually, let's see if we can get a relationship that lines up 2.618. 2.618 is pretty close. So in this case, we had a very strong wave 3. We went even more than 2.618 of the distance traveled in wave 1 off of wave 2. So that's how I'd kind of be looking at extensions, in that context. And then, okay, so after you have a wave 1 and 2, you get your wave 3. Well, now you're looking for a wave 4, right? And then we got a wave 4, of course. Now this is more of a correction, right? Correction within the larger uptrend. So you can, throw a channel up there, however you want to draw it, something like that, right? But more importantly, so you got your initial swing down, then you got your initial swing up, and some common relationships within a corrective pattern like this would be equality and the 618. So I'll get rid of the other extensions here. All right, so the 618 was exceeded, but you can see we didn't even quite get down to that equal relationship 1.0, and that's where this move down would equal this move from this initial swing high. So that's a pretty good guideline for when you're working a correction there. And all you need is that initial swing low and swing high, and then you can get some of these targets here for possibly where you're going to bottom there. And then, okay, now that we have the wave 4, we're anticipating a wave 5, right? So one thing I do is once you have that completed correction in place and you feel it's done and you're starting to move up again, you do what's called a reverse fib extension of that corrective pattern. And the numbers I typically use for that are 1.382 and 2. Okay. And so those are just some quick targets. Now, normally the 1.382 is exceeded, but it's a nice little target just for trading purposes. Because often you sell, before the thing. You don't try and get every last tick out of a move. You want something that's going to reliably get filled. So the 1.32 is a pretty reliable reverse fib extension for a target on taking profits or closing the position. And then often, but not always, you get the 2.0 relationship. So twice the distance traveled in this correction projected off the low of the correction. And you can see we just exceeded that, but not for very long and not by that much. So the 2.0 relationship, reverse fib, and that gets us to the the target we're looking for off that correction. And that completed wave 5 of possibly a larger wave 1. But also, so wave 5 also has a relationship between wave 1 and 3. So I'll take the distance traveled in waves 1 through 3, projected off of the termination point of wave 4, and then, let's see here. Damn it, where is the fucking thing? Okay. So there's the equal distance traveled, and then there's also the 618 distance traveled. And those are two fairly high confidence targets for wave 5 once you have a waves 1, 2, and 3 and 4 in place. So as you can see, pretty bang on there with the equal distance traveled. So the distance, again, traveled from the origin of wave 1 to the extreme wave 3, projected off the termination point of wave 4. That equal distance gave us 2279, and we actually peaked out at 2325 on wave 5. So that's a pretty nice target that was met and slightly exceeded. And then, so this was an unusually strong wave 5, in my opinion. Normally, wave 5 is actually a little weaker, and typically wave 3 is the strongest move. So in that case, you'd be looking, in a more typical situation, you'd be looking at a 618 in the distance traveled from 1 to 3 off of 4. Wave 5 would get to a 618 relationship there, but you can see we greatly exceed that in this case. Okay, and again with the working a correction, and again I'll just draw a channel because this is maybe a nicer example of a bigger corrective pattern. So you have your initial swing down, you have the initial retracement up. So then, okay, so for the channel, you connect the channel there from the beginning of the correction to that initial swing up in parallel off the bottom, off the first swing low there, and that gives you a nice corrective price channel to work in. Then once you get out of the price channel, you can basically go with the assumption that the correction is likely over. But back to the relationships, and I'll just throw some labels on here just to make it a little easier to discuss. So that's A down, that's B up, and that's C down, we'll call it, right? For possibly a larger wave 2. All right, so with the relationships, so we got A down. So we take the distance traveled in A, projected off of B, and then we have these two objectives. So we have the 618, and then we have the equality relationship. And in this case, we're a lot closer to the 618. We stabbed down there briefly, just below it, but then that was the end, and we reversed off of there. So those are basically the extensions I look for in both, a corrective pattern and also a trending impulse pattern. There's other nuances, and I could probably go into quite a bit more detail, but this is a decent, rundown, anyways. For everyday analysis, when I'm just quickly looking through the charts as the trading day is going, this is basically all I'm looking for is these common relationships. All right. Hopefully that was somewhat enlightening for you.